Welcome everyone to yet another advanced tutorial. In today's episode of my tutorials, we will talk a lot about water volumes, how water behaves in the game, and what are some tips and tricks to manipulate it to your liking. It is a bit different from all the other tutorials you've seen so far because I tried to find out some new things that potentially haven't been used that much and will make your life a lot easier. But if you are looking for a more basic tutorial, I've got this whole series for you where we're building this area, including plazas, including the whole habitat, including the landscaping, the water, the foliage, and also building in a more basic way or in a more advanced way. You can find the link to it in the description, but also if I do not forget about it, I'll put it to the top right now in the YouTube cards. You can just click it and watch through. You can also download this habitat over here as a little example for you if you just want to take it apart, rip it apart to find out what I did and how I did it. You are also more than welcome to download it and just test it. Okay, enough said. Let's talk about water in Planet Zoo. So the first thing to notice is you cannot manipulate the water after you've placed it. So if we go into terrain manipulation, you can see that there is, as you can see, there is a crest over here. There is a edge being transformed or being created when you try to manipulate anything that is within the lake. You can see I can do whatever I want in here. There's nothing happening, but outside there's a lot happening. Now we want to make sure that this all is not the case. You can see you cannot even not smooth out anything. Reason for that is the water in Planet Zoo is volumetric. Well, to be fair, that only means at this time that if you go inside the water, you get this volumetric shader effect of the water being underwater. I think it's also used to make sure that the animals have a checkbox checked once they're underwater, that there is swimming, the animation to swimming triggered. As of now, there is no diving in the game, so I cannot confirm if it's actually volumetric in that kind of sense, that the volume itself is calculated correctly, which might be because as soon as I put down a water pump, which I'm just going to quickly do for you guys to see that. So if you go to facilities and we are going to, just load this please, and we have the water treatment. We're going to just put this somewhere down here. It doesn't really matter, we just need to touch somehow on the volume. There we go. So you can see now, if I click this building, you can see there is one treated body of water implemented here. And well, if I am, how is that even? Okay, why is this only one, by the way? It's actually two bodies of water. I'm a bit confused why. But if we click, for example, then onto the habitat over here, it gives you the information that there is at the moment water area of 705.0 square meters of water area. Now, I believe this is only giving you the plain level of water in terms of the 2D side or the face of the water. It doesn't really calculate if it's deeper or not. We can actually basically quickly test that to show it off to you guys, which is very important. Now, if we delete this thing and we're going to manipulate this little lake to make it even deeper, I don't even know if I can set the water in again. I can, so here we go, put the water in again. It's not the same level though, so it changed maybe a tiny bit because of that. Yeah, it got less, and you can see definitely it didn't get less because I moved it down. Now if I just redo everything so the water is in, there we go, you can see it changed, but it only changed in terms of the actual size of the face. Now this is, keep that in mind because it also changes a little bit of what we will talk about. Now we have to delete this thing over here, and now we go over into this area. Now you can see I created a whole bunch of stuff to show you what is happening. This is a little step, like a stair I built here. I wanted to test how close you can get water together. So what you can see, there is water from both sides of the glass barrier. You can use any other solid barrier that works with the water volumes. You will see that in the menu that they are working with water. Now you can see one thing that is very interesting. This thing is really leveled exactly at water level. You can even drag that almost like a little bit below. I don't know, I think I did that here. Yeah, you can see the water is actually above the barrier level ever so slightly. So you can see really that that's the border of the water volume. And you can actually see this is like a really solid border over here. It's not like a floating texture as it was in Planet Coaster. It is actually a volume, which we will have to talk about a bit more. Now, I believe they did this on purpose for the future if there will be some diving animals or we have some diving animations finally unveiled to us from the existing animals. Now, the little trick is to get water in. I'm gonna quickly show it to you, is by doing it that way. So we are deleting the water out of these things. There you go. And if we want to put the water back in, you can see it's not gonna work because they say it's obstructed. Now, it's not when you do the following. You just click that thing. One thing to note, you have to make sure that this thing is fully inside the terrain. It does not have to stick out. It's not allowed to stick out or whatever. If it is this, like so, it does not work because this little corner over here, this little cut, will make the water not stay inside. As it would be with a real volumetric water. It's not flowing though, but it calculates as if it would be flowing out. Now, if we drag this all the way up, it doesn't really matter how high you do it. Just do it high enough so there is a certain height. Now you will see, oh, it actually even works. That is funny. And it creates this little corner. So, well, you can even be a bit more... You can even be a bit more less precise than I thought you would need to. Let me just for science reasons, I want to show to you what happens if you leave a bigger gap. Oh, there we go. I would be laughing my ass off if that would work now, because in all my tests it didn't. And now, you know, showing that off. Oh my god. What the hell? Okay, so basically you need to have like a really big... Okay, you don't... Okay, just forget about what I just said. You can just make it dirty AF and just do whatever you want with it. Now, the only thing is you need to drag it up and then put the water back in. You can see it would have been super funny if it would not work that way now. And then you just drag it all the way down, which... Okay, so... Okay, you see, this is what doesn't work. So, okay, this does not work if I do it that way. You see, I was not precise enough. Okay, this time we're going to redo this and we're going to move this. Okay, that's what I forgot. This is what you need to do. Now, I will push that a bit more in. So this is exactly what you need to do. And if we do the water now, you will... Okay, it still creates that little... I just destroyed it because you will not be able to drag it down unless there is a really flat, nice area. Okay, let's undo all the changes until it's back into position. This is where it is. And then just really push it up again. And put the water in. There you go. And then we will be able to pull it down. We are not... Good lord. Okay, we are going to create a completely new one just to show you that it does work. Okay, this is insane. I tested this like a million times, but this is, you can see it is a bit finicky though. You have to make sure that we have a flat top, editable bottom. Now we just keep it like this and then like so. I'm gonna change it to pull it really inside here. It's really important to use that option because otherwise it would automatically snap to the terrain height. You don't want to have this. And then you just make sure to have this working. So if you can pull it all the way down to 1 meter, you did it right. Now you just pull it all the way up. And to make things a bit more safe this time, we have to see if there's anything open down here. There's not. But you know what we do? We just change it a bit here just to make sure that things are safe. Gonna make it this way so we can be 100% sure, and now it should all work. If not, I have to redo my whole freaking tutorial because that would be hilarious if that wouldn't work. Now we can hopefully edit it. Yes, we can. So you can see you can drag it all the way up to be at water level. You just have to be very precise so that there is, I believe, when I just did this with all my testing and moving it around, I made this, I broke it by, I don't know where I exactly put it, but I just broke it. Now, you see, it's back in. There's no big issue about that. And the same goes for this one. You would basically do it exactly the same way. You cannot fill in the water here right now, but if we just do this, drag it all the way up, go back into terrain, you can see it's valid. You can put down the water and you can do actually exactly the same, pull it all the way down until it gets blue, unleash it, done. And so that's how you make these steps. Now, one thing which is really interesting, and it's not even interesting, it's very good to know, because that will be very important for you to plan out things. If we measure how high that is, and I'm gonna use the 1 meter Arctic wall, it doesn't really matter which one you use, you can also use everything else, but you have to take a 1 meter one. Let's take the, and that's a 2 meter one, there we go, this is the 1 meter one, and you just use that as a little ruler. You will see that the step we have here of the water is exactly at 1 meter. That is very interesting, because that helps you to build these water things a lot more easy and without actually having too much to think about where this is. And that is also why I created this build over here to show you what happens. Now, these are two pretty similar bassins of water. These are pretty much two pools of water. What you can see, this little boulder of, or this little block of terrain is really pretty much leveled to the water, as you can see. It's almost like the same level. While this one is like, I would say, half a meter, not even, maybe 30 to 40 centimeters higher. Now you cannot, and this is the fun part now, you cannot alter the water level, because I was like, okay, now I can use this over here to be exactly at this area, and I wanted to make sure that I get a very slight incline of water, and then I wanted to connect this the same way I did it over here, you know, because I wanted to get a smaller step in water to make it even more shallow, and just use some effects to create like a very subtle water line or a cascade to make it very shallow, so it's almost like real flowing water in a volumetric way. But it doesn't work, because the water in Planet Zoo seems to have a predefined, and even in height and form and whatever, a predefined height of 1 meter. You can even see that if you use to put the water in with the barriers. You can see you can actually level the water like 1 meter, 2 meter, that was 4 meter, like 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 doesn't work. But you cannot, you know, it doesn't matter where I click, it always, like, see that I'm just slightly above this water level, and I would love to have the water level now put to here, but it automatically jumps 1 meter higher. And the fun part is, this is actually, you cannot change it. So this is the water height of, let's say, 2 meters above sea level, I guess that's what you would call it. And you cannot change this in any other way. No matter on what, situation, no matter where on the map. This 2 meters will always be these 2 meters. You cannot get the water, let's say, to like be here or be here. That's not gonna work. It's not gonna work. Why I am like talking so much about this maybe redundant or maybe not relevant fact, it's not directly influencing what you build, but it in a way is, because you always have to keep that in mind. If you, for example, build a certain water fountain or water feature, remember that the whole game processes everything with like a step of even below 1 centimeter. You can build your terrain and your stuff and whatever everywhere you want. And if you want to have your water being aligned exactly at the level, you cannot always create that. You cannot always rely on water, because at some points the water will just be, it will just be lower or higher than you would wish it to be. So I struggled a lot with that because I didn't know that. So I was like doing a lake, and I always wanted to have the water level be exactly like this, I'm just going to show you what I mean. I want to have, for example, now a lake that is exactly in between those two heights, This is why I'm going to use this thing now. And this is going to be exactly, okay, let's make it not that big. I just want to make it this way. So here we go. You see, it's in between. The height of this is in between. Now we're going to use that and drag it all the way around here. So that is it. And usually you would now expect to be able to put water in, but you're not. And you know why? Because you do not have this step of 1 meter. Now we have to dig deeper. I thought, okay, the water needs to be at least 1 meter in total height. That could have been as well. Now we're going to draw that thing a bit deeper, and now I want to put my water in, and I still cannot get to this height. I can only do this height, and you see, it is exactly the same level as the lake in the back. it's not working. I cannot get it any other level of that. You cannot go here. So for you, that means you have to plan out every water feature in the game with a step of 1 meter in mind. It's not that great, but this is a very, very important thing to do and to keep in mind. And the last thing we are discussing in this first part of the tutorial is this block over here, which is floating over the water, which is interesting because it's not that easy to get water above water. I tell ya, in Planet Coaster was almost impossible because you would need to build like another layer of terrain, and then it was always like struggling with it. And I thought the same would be for Planet Zoo, but it's not. You have to get a certain distance between the two levels of water, the two bodies of water. You cannot make this thing way lower than this. It's not working. If you would be to have it here, you have the step of 1 meter, obviously. But if you would to go above it, you have to have a solid of 4 meters of terrain first, and then you have to leave at least, I think it was also 4. This is a bit higher than it needs to be, but you need to have this block of solid 4 and solid 4, like another 4 meters of space in between, so 8 meters in total, and then you can go pretty much all the way above water if you want, if there is a body of terrain in between. And you can even, like, if you want to make the terrain even less, you know, you can always use the stamp tool and go into reduce the terrain, and then you can see that you are basically able to just get rid of most of the terrain. It will keep, though, a little bit of terrain. Obviously, it would have been too nice, you know. But this is the maximum we can get. It's like 2-ish meters, I guess, what this is like. And then you can build whatever you want, like overhanging little lakes or whatever, because what you want to do is doing what actually the freaking tutorial is called like, and you wondering after 16.5 minutes why the hell are we not there yet, because I wanted to get rid of all these information, because then the next part is way more easy for you guys to understand. And one last thing we need to talk about is this area, because that is going to show you the actual difference in what is happening. It's going to be a bit more easy to talk about that in the next part. So I'm going to move into the actual park. So see you after the cut. Here we go. And we are in the other park. You cannot really tell because you saw that already. Now this is the old method of both things I just talked to you. I just showed you already what's going on, little leak. But this is exactly how I did this before I did all the testing and stuff like that. So this is my Siberian tiger habitat, and that is completely done without this knowledge in mind. And so what happened is I used this waterfall over here completely without a body of water. It's somewhat coming out of the mountain, which, if we talk about the fact that this could be like a water source or whatever, that's fine. But you can already see how weird that looks down here. I used some effects to create a body of water look-ish, but it's not. It is not a volumetric water. As you can see, this is just some effects put above each other to make this water ripples, you know, create the effect. So it does work at a certain degree for this very shallow area over here, you can see. But if you go closer, the detail is really not nice. It's not volumetric. It's not the reflection you want to have of actual water, because in fact you can see there is no real reflection. If you go closer and move it that way, you can see it basically, it's disappeared. You cannot even tell that this is water. So if we go further away, yes, it somewhat creates, but you know, there is stuff floating. There is stuff floating over here to create that effect. Again, for the looks of it, it's fine, but it's not actual water how you would love to do it. So the same goes for the waterfall. It does not really look like a real waterfall. It's looking good, but I just needed to do a lot of tricks and you know, a lot of faking to make it look like the way it does. Now I invested a lot of time to create something more like this, and this is going to be what you just learned, and this is in fact the exact same thing I had here, just changed. Now you guys hopefully are not wondering how I did this, because if you listened carefully to the first part, you will exactly know how I did this. In fact, there's just one more thing you need to know, and this is going to be what I show you. Now, if we go in here, you can see this is a barrier, and this barrier is exactly the one you just saw a few seconds before. The only thing I did is, and this is going to be something I'm just quickly showing off to you, because that's the same method you will use over here. So what you do in order to build stuff like that, you want to create a very, very clean cut where the water flowing down. So what you want is a 90-degree cut, or even over 90 degree. I'm gonna talk about that soon. So you are always using the terrain stamp tool. You're also going to make it look, yeah, well, you can judge yourself how big you want to do it, but I tend to have some smaller ones. I think it's better. Now then you don't just move it now along and press with shift or whatever. You press X, because then you go into the Gizmo mode, and the Gizmo mode gives you a lot more control over it. And what you do, you just press down and you have your first little terrain stamp over here. I'm gonna do it a few times until you feel happy with the size of your upper body upper terrain body. So that's what I wanted to say. I don't know how big you want it, but fine. So that's it, you know. And then you want to have the body of water in, and then you just go and use the subtract terrain method. And now it's important that you don't cut out the whole thing. You just move up a bit more, so you have this little bit of bazaar or whatever you want to call it. And I did, you know, on purpose, my mistake now. So if you can guess what was my mistake, I didn't check if I have the water level now. I didn't check if I will have a flat water level. This is what you have to check. I'll show you how you do that. It's pretty simple. So what you do, you just, first of all, now if you have done this, you create the barrier. Let me just switch that song because it's annoying with the song. There we go. And you are going to use this again. Easiest method is to put it in the middle, so you can make sure that you always hit the ground, and then just drag out the corner pieces to the position of your liking. I would always highly suggest to go already as close to the corner as you can. You can see you can move them super close to the corner. It's actually pretty much flat. So, okay, let's do it that way. It's not perfect. It's definitely not perfect, but it's fine. Now, at this point, you will not be able to get any water in because you have to make this higher. But maybe we cannot even put any water in because I didn't measure. You know, that's very much of an issue. And you can see I can only get it in here. So my problem is actually happening again because I didn't check that this was the same height as I need. Now, the way you do it, and I'm just going to show you real quick. It's pretty simple. You are just going to get, like, what you do is just dig a hole, like a very simple one, blah, 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 like that. Put some water in. It doesn't really matter which height you go for. And then you go to your construction piece and you are going to go in here. And then you're going to have something really important to make sure, property and flexicolor. I'm gonna show you why. And then you take, no matter which one wall piece you want, which is 1 meter tall, I'm going to use the mud one. And now it's important that you move it exactly to the water level, which is that one. You put another one on top. Going to recolor this one to whatever is giving you a good contrast. I'm going to go for black now, okay? And then you can just basically copy them on top of each other as much as you want. It depends on how tall you want to make this whole thing. And you're just going to do this whole thing again. Awesome. So that's how you do it. And then you go back into the terrain tool, go back into the terrain stamp tool. And now what you did is you are going to align this. And this is going to be a bit more difficult in terms of perspective. So you're going to do it that way. Pretty much like that. You're going to align this. Awesome. Now that's it. You can already delete this piece again, and you can also get rid of the water volume down here. You don't need it anymore. You could even get rid of it earlier, but whatever. So oops, that was my mistake. Now, you know, you could also, if you do not want to have like the full body down here like flat, you can also just use the flatten to foundation tool now and just draw out your area on top. You don't need to have the shape then, but if you once have the tool pushed out or pulled out, it's making the whole thing more easy, and it creates also a very nice little corner over there, but it's not needed. So you can use this tool again and just create the lake, whatever. There we go. I always used to make sure that this is like a very flat, nice corner where you have the waterfall. So what I'm going to do, angle snap, rotate it 90 degrees, so it's actually that way, and then you can just subtract exactly the cut over here, like so, and so. It's going to be exactly where the waterfall is dripping down, and then you're going to put down the barrier. This is what we have here again. Same there, and just drag it all the way in again. Search for the perfect positioning for you. It doesn't really matter which exactly it is, but as I said, try to move it as far out as you can, because it's going to make the handling a lot easier. Then you're willing to test if you can drag it down. You can. Awesome. So the placement is correct. Drag it up, and now you should be able to put the water in just fine. You can see The measurement is just insanely perfect. It's totally flat. It's exactly what you wanted. It's exactly the level you wanted. The measurement method is really easy. And now you can just go back into the edit mode, just drag it down. Okay, so I did a mistake here, so the placement was maybe not perfect. As I said, it is, you know, it is a bit finicky. So maybe you want to pull it back a little bit like so, because also since the water level is so close to the top, it creates a bit more of an issue when you pull it down and it's not placed perfectly fine. You can see, okay, I have some issues with it now. We could just try to do the little terrain trick, which is just reduce the intensity and then just make it like that. This could be already solving the issue. I would love to give you the perfect solution, but there is no perfect solution. It's a bit of a test and learn thing. It still doesn't work. Okay, so what I do want to do, I'm going to pull this back a lot more, like this, and I'm going to pull this. Whoops, I'm going to pull this back again. So making this all a bit more like so. Maybe it's working now. I don't know. It's test and learn, as I said. Let's see. Okay, it still doesn't work. I don't really know why. It might be that the terrain is too flat on the sides. Okay, so either way, this is how you would do it from the process wise. It's a bit finicky, but the result is worth it. So you can see over here, I made it and it works. You can see I have it in here and it does work. So what you can always do, like always recommend to just build the barrier. Sometimes the barrier just has a weird little issue and you're gonna do it just the way you did it before. You just do it again. You can also try to use the flat top method, but the flat top method, you know, you can still push it in, but you can see how it creates this bit of a weird terraforming-ish thing. So I don't recommend using this. You will see, but this time this will give us the solution we need. We will see. So just drag it all the way up and then put the water in. So who knows, maybe that works. Edit the barrier, and for whatever reason it works. So yeah, just test yourself a little bit, I guess. This is how you would do it. And now one thing is really important. So as we figured that works, just redo it or undo it. So you have this system over here. That's what you want to have, because then you can use the last little fix you need to have, and that is getting the whole one. We have to undo also the water placement. I'm sorry, I forgot to say that. So we're gonna have the cube and you rotate that again, so you have a nice little thing. It's more like a cutoff stamp, and you just make sure, wait, I should be more careful, so you have to subtract terrain. Here we go. Just move it all the way back, and then you have it very close to here. Make sure to move yourself closer as you can, so to make it really nice and close to here. So that should be it. Now let's try again if we can do it. Yes, and now let me just do this, please. Yeah, awesome. So that's it, pretty easy. Now you have to set up, and all I did over here obviously is just theming it around. That's all. So this is how you create it. It's a bit finicky, as I said, but you can see it didn't take me too long. It took me 5 minutes now, so that is not too long, and then you can start building around this area. Now this is what I created. Like, this is the last showcase now. So the waterfall looks just a million times better than this one does, because it looks natural. It looks really like the water is flowing over that cut over here, over the edge. I even put down some rocks here to create a bit more of a heavy feel. So it really does look nice. The only little bit of an issue is that darker area in here that is created. You can get rid of it by putting down more effects, but to be honest, from over here, it doesn't really matter. It looks nice indeed. It looks still very clean. You have this clean cut over here, and it, you know, this might be not the view that where it benefits the most from. It benefits the most from this view. So if you have it this waterfall down in a valley, or you even stand over here, it looks so much better. It looks almost like water is really trickling down, and you don't have this ugly little terrain cut in there, which you know people always use, because otherwise it didn't work out in the past. And also on Planet Coaster, so you're so used to it that people were always creating it, and now you cannot, or you don't need it anymore. So that's a cool bit. And on this side we have the water cascade. It's the same setup you've seen earlier in today's episode. I just themed it, and you can see it looking a lot better than this one does. it just looks better. This one is a bit more lush on the theming. Okay, you can basically get the same look if you want, but that one just looks so much better, because if you go down, it is actually water. You know, the animals could even drink from it, they can interact with it, and the change in incline, or the change in height level, is basically the same as it is over there, because it's exactly 4 meter, 4 steps, 4 meter. And if we go over here, you can see from, just from the looks of it, it's also 4 meters. The only difference is that this looks not too good, and that looks absolutely gorgeous, and it looks realistic since it is actual water. Now, that's it, guys. I really hope you enjoyed today's episode of my tutorial, and this is all about water, as I said, water volumes, waterfalls, and whatever. I really hope you guys enjoyed also that I tried to take a bit more time to explain what is going on with the water in the game and why it behaves the way it behaves. And yeah, I hope you could take out some stuff. If you did, make sure to spread the word and give it to people that struggle with it. And I see you in the next one. Until then, have a great time, and bye, guys. So thank you for watching this video. I hope you appreciate that. And now a special thanks also to all the people supporting me here on that channel, making this all possible. You can see that on the left hand side right now. And also, if you want to see more of my stuff, make sure to click that card on the right top now. And if you want to stick around, make sure to hit that sub button, which is on the bottom right of the screen. If you want to see stuff on my social media, sneak peeks and stuff like that, it is on the bottom left of the screen. And yeah, I hope to see you again in the next episode. Until then, enjoy your time, guys, and bye.